divestments and critical minerals, charting a future, a just future for Nigeria's extractive sector. It calls on us to reckon with the past, to confront the present, and boldly shape a future grounded in equity, sustainability, and justice. Across the globe, the energy landscape is shifting. Fossil fuel investments are declining. Oil majors are divesting very rapidly. New actors are emerging on the energy scene, and the global race for critical minerals such as lithium, cobalt, and rare earth mineral elements is accelerating. Yet one question looms large. Is Nigeria really ready for what looms and lies ahead? Distinguished guests, we cannot afford to stumble blindly into this era. Not again. We did that in the 50s, recovering from independence. Nigeria didn't really know much, but after 50 years, 60 years, we can't say we are still where we were before in the 50s. And that is why the choices we make now on regulation, on environmental sustainability, and the protection of communities will determine whether we would dismantle a legacy of exploitation or repeat the mistakes of the past. That is why the National Extractive Dialogue 2025 matters, and that is why we have gathered here today. So over the next 2 days here in Uyo, we will listen deeply, we will interrogate fearlessly, and we will reimagine boldly. From government leaders and regulators to host communities, to civil society, to private sector actors and regional partners from across West Africa, we will examine the policy decisions, the institutional frameworks, and political will needed to steer this transition with justice at its core. We are incredibly proud that this dialogue continues to grow in ambition, in influence, and in impact. Since our first convening in 2002, NED has backed policy reforms. We have amplified the voices of local people, especially marginalized communities who never really used to have access to political leaders and spaces where decisions are made. NED is changing that. And we have also advanced transformative solutions for extractive governance. We have built friendships and partnerships across government agencies, from Ministry of Mines Solid Minerals to NOSRA, to NATI, to NUPRC, to NMDPRA. We are building strong relationships. We are building strong partners with different government agencies. So NED 2025 is building on this momentum. And we are grounded in the belief that transparency, equity, and justice must be the new benchmarks for extractive sector governance in Nigeria and across West Africa. As we begin this dialogue, I urge you not to hold back. This is the moment to interrogate our past frameworks, to see whether they are working, what has worked, what is not working, so that we can confront systems that have failed too many and for too long. NED 2025 must not be another ceremonial stop on the calendar. It must be a defining moment, a turning point, as we collectively shape the future of governance, equity, and environmental accountability in Nigeria's extractive sector. Therefore, do not let us leave Uyo with just mere words, mere discussions, and mere reflections. But let us leave here with demands, with focus, with a new direction, and a shared resolve to act. Let us rise, lead, and reimagine together a just future for Nigeria's extractive sector. I would like to specially thank the Ford Foundation for continuing to support NED. When we started this conversation in 2022, it was just one of those one of those conversations. They said, why another conversation? But over time, they continued to invest in spaces for change, to trust us and to accompany us on this journey of growth. And we do not take that investment and support for granted. Once again, and with immense gratitude to every one of you who have left everything they could have been doing today to join us today, I want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for coming, and I warmly welcome you to NED 2025. Thank you.
Please, another round of applause for her. Thank you so much. All right, while she was taking her presentation, our royal father walked in graciously with his beautiful queen. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming His Royal Majesty, King Bubraye Dakolo, Yagada IV, Ibinanowe of Ekbetiama Kingdom. A round of applause for him. You're welcome, Your Royal Majesty. And his queen, Her Royal Majesty, Queen Timnepri Bubraye Dakolo, the Igrigi I, Queen of Ekbetiama Kingdom and chairperson of all queens in Bayelsa State, is also here. You're welcome, ma'am. All right, we also want to recognize Baduma Oko, representing the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission. Okay, you're welcome. A round of applause for her. Mr. Dele Ayaleke, President, Miners Association of Nigeria, representative of the mining companies on the NAITI board. You're welcome, sir. And we have Steve Manteo from Ghana Extractive Industries, Gaiti. Steve. Okay. Lola Delore, representing the Executive Director, Oil Producers Trade Section, OPTS. Lola, you're welcome. Please, a round of applause for her. We also want to recognize Dr. Mrs. Okono Vivian, Director, Mines Environment Compliance Department, Ministry of Solid Minerals Development. You're welcome, ma'am. We have Engineer Ganiyu Imam, Director, Mines Inspectorate, Ministry of Solid Minerals Development. You're welcome, sir. Thank you so much. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, moving on, I want to call to the podium for his opening remarks. A man I respect so much. He has worked in the public service, in communication and international development in the UNDP. And he used to be the National Coordinator, Executive Secretary. Okay, before his appointment, well, we are talking about the Executive Secretary of the National Coordinator of Nigeria Extractive Transparency, Industries Transparency Initiative. Sorry, please, I have all this modeled up here. But you know who I'm talking about, a veteran journalist, the one and only Dr. Oji Obonaya. Apologies, sir, for the mix-up there. Please, let's appreciate him more as he comes up.
Thank you, my sister. You tried. Both the name and the agency, the names are long. Your Royal Highness, who is always in our midst, the representative of the Honorable Minister we're hoping to expect, distinguished senators, my brother and the chair of the Solid Minerals Committee in the House of Reps and other members of the House here, my colleagues and my organs on IT board, especially Chief Steve Akpan, who represents the South-South Zone on NITI board. We are not to have you, sir. We are your guests. And the President Miners Association, who is also a member of NITI board, a former member of our board, and a former member of the EITI International Board, Executive Director, CTA, Chief Mrs. Faith Mwadishi, a civil engineer, civil society activist. My colleagues, members of NITI management that are here, our colleagues, leaders in the civil society, international development, heads of agencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's with deep appreciation and sense of responsibility that I welcome you to the 4th edition of NED, hosted here in the vibrant and peaceful city of Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. This blessed land is the hallmark of extractive industrial activities in Nigeria. We are therefore grateful to the organizers and most outstandingly, respectfully, my dear sister, Executive Director of Spaces for Change, outstanding woman of accomplishment, a woman of beauty, and like they said, with brain. Please acknowledge the presence of Victoria Ibezim Oheri, the Executive Director of Spaces for Change, on whose invitation, working with partners like NITI and other agencies, were here. We're equally grateful to His Excellency the Governor of Akwa Ibom State and his team for the enduring peace and very conducive environment that we're enjoying. Some people working with him made this possible. We don't take that for granted. To our co-organizers, Solid Minerals Development Ministry, NOSRA, and our development partners, Ford Foundation, we continue to thank them. This year's theme, Transitions, Divestments, and Critical Minerals, just a new future for the extractive sector, is a very timely invitation for this dialogue. Our coming here today is not only urgent, very urgent, but a historic moment to dialogue and discuss on an issue we cannot ignore. The global shift to clean energy is fast accelerating. International companies are divesting from onshore to shallow waters. And the race for very criminal mining activities are increasing. At a time, critical minerals, lithium, nickel, cobalt, copper, is shaping global markets and economic landscapes. It's therefore very visionary to compel us to look beyond resource extraction and profit towards a future anchored on justice, sustainability, inclusion, and shared prosperity. For us in NITI, and to prepare Nigeria for this moment of transformation, certain steps have been taken. One is ongoing research on energy transition, on its economic impact on Nigeria's economy. NITI has commissioned a comprehensive study with the support of our partners, Ford Foundation, on the impact of energy transition on Nigeria's economy. This is our own strategic response to the risks that are likely to arise, the emerging opportunities, and the global shift to renewable energy. The study aims to generate evidence-based insights to guide fiscal planning and policy platform, safeguard livelihoods and national revenue, protect and promote and project host communities from exclusion, align NITI's work with the energy transition plan, national determined limits, and the Climate Change Act. In 2024, we have also commenced a very big project a flagship project of establishing a national data center on extractives. The center is designed to provide infrastructure for real-time, automated, and centralized extractive sector data. We're fully operational. The 90 data center with centralized licensing, production, revenue, and export data across oil, gas, and solid minerals. Enable automated disclosures by companies to align with EITI standards globally. Support data integration and validation across all relevant government agencies. In a data-driven world, the 90 Data Center is our national commitment to intelligent, accessible, and actionable transparency debate. Let me be clear, there can't be no justice without data. There can be no reform without records, and no future without facts and planning. In May 2025, 90 Board, at its meeting in Umuahia, adopted a groundbreaking energy transition and climate accountability framework to guide 90's disclosures. And under that framework, 90 is mandated to provide oversight of IOC divestments and asset transfers, mandate tracking of GHG emissions and climate risks, monitor host community development trusts, align Nigeria's energy transition plans with biannual public climate performance reports. We're equally grateful to a section of the civil society led by HEDA that threw this idea forward. And that's why our partnership with the civil society is and will continue to remain sacrosanct. Henceforth, 90 will no longer publish any report without climate and emission data. This is a new national standard and one fit for a world undergoing through mineral divestments and transition. In the area of solid minerals, Nigeria's mineral wealth is no longer speculative, is quantifiable, and keeps rising. Gold royalties have grown from 104.5% to 2.92 billion naira. Later royalties that were very decimal before has risen by 2.52% to 398.19 million in naira. And tin royalties surged from 4014.6 to 540.9 million naira. We are tracking these numbers in real time and linking them to community development, local value, national interests, the market, and national beneficiation plans, which we need to pursue as this transition moves forward. Now, what are the challenges that we need to look forward to? We need to move forward, and this NET conference must help us to answer very key questions. One, will divestments leave behind environmental and social liabilities? Two, will critical minerals be rich in revenue but poor in injustice? Or poor in justice, as you may need to look at it. Will host communities be excluded or empowered or be totally ignored in the whole transition? We therefore must urgently define how to build local industry capacity for mineral processing, enforce community rights through effective HCDDT implementation, establish legally binding environmental remediation frameworks with financial guarantees. By the way, we are aware that host communities have begun to receive money from the Host Community Development Trust Fund. We are computing a database of the affected communities, how much is flowing to each of these communities. We do not want this to become another 13% derivation, where no data is available on what has happened, on what has failed to happen. The HCDT implementation will be data-driven and accountable, and NATI will lead that process. NATI hereby proposes a strategic agenda built on 3 connected pillars. One is data for governance, from reporting to decision making, from strategic audits to real-time accountability, and our data center is being positioned to provide lead, the engine of this transformation. Dialogue for inclusion. A policy without people is incomplete. The dialogue today must therefore elevate the voices of host communities, voices of women, youth, and artisanal miners. We must aim to deliver impact. National protocols for divestment and decommissioning need to be outlined, understood, and clarified. Legal safeguards for community benefit and environmental responsibility need to be clearly defined and understood by the government, the civil society, and the companies. We need to incentivize local beneficiation and extractive-driven industrialization, even at the host community level. The role of stakeholders and NATI need to merge, and partner and have a handshake at some point. The federal and state governments need to be embedded in NATI data into national planning and budgeting. Regulators to act on audit findings and strengthen enforcement. Companies need to go beyond compliance and to lead energy and environmental security compliance. The civil society needs to do more to use NATI data for constructive engagement, accountability, public education, and advocacy. Development partners need to continue to provide further support in building the capacity of the civil society to play very key roles and central roles at this moment to drive the dialogue from talks to action. In conclusion, the decision we make today will define Nigeria's extractive legacy from one generation to the other. We have a rare opportunity to chart a new course where our national resources will fuel national development, uphold justice, and restore dignity to host communities that actually lay the golden eggs. Let's thus today at this dialogue choose transformation over tradition, justice over expediency, and collaboration over complacency. NATI is ready and willing. Our systems are strong and live and very lively. Our data is credible, globally acknowledged, and our resolve is firm and stoic. Let the dialogue begin now, not tomorrow. I thank you for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's give a round of applause once again for the wonderful Executive Secretary of NATI. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, please permit me to recognize some more people in the room. I'd like to recognize Dr. Nkiruka Chidia Maduekwe, the Director General, National Council on Climate Change. She's ably represented. Thank you very much, ma'am. I'd also like to recognize, I'd like to recognize the Commissioner of the Akwa Ibom Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources, Right Honorable Nsika Ekong. Please, a round of applause for the Commissioner, who is also ably represented. I'd also like to recognize in the room at today's event the Commissioner of the Imo State Ministry of Environment and Sanitation, Honorable Barrister Major Ejikeme Emenike. A round of applause for the Commissioner, who is also ably represented. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to recognize in the room today the delectable Obiageli Honora, the Director, Communications and Stakeholders Management at NEITI. A round of applause for her, please. You're very much welcome, ma'am. Thank you. Also in the room today, we have Dr. Diete Bassi, who is also the Director of Policy and Strategy at NEITI. Please, a round of applause. Dr. Diete, thank you for being here with us. I also have Dr. Amawim Akpabio of the Law Department. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Akpabio. Thank you very much, sir. We're glad to have you here. Then I'd also like to humbly recognize from the Northeast Development Commission, Mr. Yakubu Suleiman. Please, a round of applause for Mr. Yakubu. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, also please permit me to recognize here with us today the distinguished Senator Ekong Samson, who is the representative of the Akwa Ibom South Senatorial District. Please, a round of applause for Senator Ekong Samson. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing us with your presence. We are so glad to have you here today. I'd also like to recognize once again Honorable Gaza Jonathan Befui, the Chairman of the House Committee on Solid Minerals. You're very much welcome, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, moving along today, we're going to be having the wonderful Engineer Chukwuemeka, the Director General or CEO of the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, give us his opening remarks. Engineer Chukwuemeka is a natural leader with a wealth of experience that knows no bounds. As the CEO of NOSDRA, he has led NOSDRA to a height that is well-lauded and well-established. Engineer Chukwuemeka Woke holds a bachelor's degree in chemical and petrochemical engineering. He has garnered valuable experience from his time in various capacities within the environmental, safety, and operations divisions of the former Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. And prior to his appointment, Engineer Woke actually held notable positions such as the chairman of the Emoha local government area in Rivers State and the chief of staff at the government house in Port Harcourt, showcasing his leadership capabilities and administrative prowess over the years, which has been seen as he continues to lead the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency. Today is ably represented by Mrs. Adeshida Margaret, Director, ICT, GIS, NOSDRA. A round of applause for her, please. Thank you.
Good morning, all. Please permit me to stand on already established protocol. Before I start, I would like to give the unreserved apology of my Director General, Chief Executive. He planned to be here, but the ministry is inaugurating the board of all its agencies. The program has been anchored by the Minister of Environment. It started yesterday and it runs through till tomorrow. So that's why he could not make it here. I would read his opening remark. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 2025 edition of the National Extractive Dialogue. This year's theme, Transitions, Divestments, and Critical Minerals, Charting a Just Future for Nigeria's Extractive Sector, could not be more timely or significant. As the world shifts from low-carbon energy systems, Nigeria stands at a critical crossroad. Over the past 5 years alone, we have witnessed unprecedented waves of divestments in onshore and shallow water and gas assets. Industry data shows that over 25 divestment deals involving major international oil companies have been initiated and concluded since 2020, transferring oil blocks and infrastructure valued at over $10 billion US. Notably, Shell, Chevron, Total Energies, ExxonMobil have all moved to divest significant onshore and shallow water assets. Shell's exit from its onshore asset alone involves over 30 oil mining leases, affecting multiple communities across the Niger Delta. Shell's divestment process started in 2024, and 100% of its equity shareholding was transferred to Renaissance in March 2025. The acquisition of ExxonMobil assets by Seplat, although still under regulatory review, is among the most high-profile divestment transactions in recent years. These divestments are driven by global decarbonization pressures, investor demands, and operational insecurity in host communities. However, they also raise urgent environmental and governance questions. For NOSDRA, the most pressing issue is the increasing risk of stranded environmental liabilities. Assets being divested often comes with a legacy of decade-long oil pollution, abandoned infrastructure, and unremediated spill sites. Notable among these are the Ogoni, Bodo, and Bomo regions, where pollutions from historical operations continue to affect water, land, and livelihood, despite continued efforts to address this. Recently, in areas like Ebocha in Rivers State and Ibom in Akwa Ibom, communities have raised alarm about environmental degradation caused by ongoing operations and neglect by existing operators. These realities highlight the need for clear divestment protocols, environmental audits, and enforceable pro-exist obligations. Furthermore, as Nigeria prepares to exploit critical minerals such as lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earth metals, we must avoid repeating these mistakes. Extractive expansion must be accompanied by strong environmental oversight, community engagement, and transparent governance. Our mining future should not become a pollution crisis. On its part as NOSDRA, we are intensifying efforts to meet these evolving challenges through enhanced satellite monitoring, improving spill detection systems, real-time gas flare tracking, and greater interagency collaborations. With this, we aim to improve accountability and rapid response. We are also engaging with the National Assembly. We're working to review our Enabling Establishment Act. We're working with other regulators. We work with host communities and the private sector to incorporate environmental due diligence into all transition and divestment processes. This dialogue provides a platform not only for reflection, but also for creating solutions. A just future for Nigeria's extractive sector must prioritize people, protect the environment, and be guided by data, equity, and the rule of law. On behalf of NOSDRA, I would like to thank the founders of this annual event, Ford Foundation, our partners, NEITI and Space for Change, for this important gathering. I urge everyone to engage with the seriousness and foresight this moment demands. Welcome once again to NET 2025, and I wish us all a productive deliberation. Thank you.
Please let's give Mrs. Adeshide a round of applause once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, ma'am. Very quickly, I'd just like to recognize the Honorable Commissioner for Oil and Gas, Delta State, ably represented today by Engineer Akemu Julius. Thank you very much, sir. Please, a round of applause for the engineer. We're glad to have you here today. Moving along today, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the stage, I'm delighted to welcome to the stage, from the Ford Foundation, Dr. Catherine Chinedum Anyogalu Okoye, popularly known as Chichi, who will be giving her goodwill message. Dr. Catherine, popularly known as Chichi, is the Regional Director of the Ford Foundation Office for West Africa. She oversees the foundation's grant making in the region and leads the team to promote human rights, democracy, and social inclusion in West Africa. She has over 20 years of experience leading a variety of country offices in Nigeria for a range of international development organizations. In this capacity, she has devised strategies, led offices, managed diverse set of staff, and engaged within regional and global organizational settings. Her work has covered a variety of topics, from improving governance and reducing poverty to advancing transparency in the extractive sector, and also furthering women and girls' empowerment through engagement with civil society organizations. She also engages with entities from public and private sectors and has a PhD in sociology, while she specializes in gender and development from the University of College Cork, Ireland. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage today Dr. Catherine Chinedum Anyogalu Okoye, the Regional Director of the Ford Foundation Office for West Africa, ably represented by Chizulu Uwolu, the Program Assistant, Ford Foundation. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Thank you very much for that introduction. My name is Chizulu Uwolo. I'm the Program Assistant at Ford Foundation, and I'll be representing Dr. Chichi, our Regional Director, and I'll be giving a few words. On behalf of the Ford Foundation, we would like to commend Spaces for Change, NATI, Nostra, and the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, and all partners for convening this year's National Extractives Dialogue. This platform remains a critical space for reflection, collaboration, and action as Nigeria navigates complex extractive transitions. At the Ford Foundation, our work on natural resources and climate justice seeks to ensure that land communities and natural resource communities are not only protected, but also empowered as the world moves through energy transitions. As international oil companies divest from onshore assets and global demand for critical minerals surge, we face a critical choice. We can either perpetuate extractive models that marginalize communities, or we can build frameworks that prioritize their rights, agency, and well-being. We believe that the National Extractive Dialogue 2025 is an opportunity to forge that just future. By strengthening accountability, elevating community voices, and ensuring that environmental remediation and equitable benefit sharing are at the core of extractive governance, we can prevent past harms from repeating themselves. The Ford Foundation is proud to stand with you all and our partners, some of them who are in this room, in these efforts, and we look forward to the actionable solutions and partnerships that will emerge from this dialogue. Together, we believe that we can rewrite the story of extractives in Nigeria, as well as the West African region. We believe that we can create a society and a world and a region where justice and not exploitation defines the future. Our collective action here today will determine whether transitions are just in name or just in reality. We hope today that we choose the latter. Thank you.
Please, another round of applause for her. Thank you so much. All right, we'll try to fast track this so that we can move on. Time is already against us. Ladies and gentlemen, join me to welcome the House of Rep member representing Kefi Karo Kokona Federal Constituency in the 10th House of Representatives. He is the Chairman, House Committee on Solid Minerals, Honorable Befi Gaza Jonathan. A round of applause as he comes to take his opening statement. We can do better. Let's celebrate him.
Most distinguished Senator of the Federal Republic, Senator Ekong Samson, the Senator representing Akwa Ibom South Senatorial District, my co-traveler, the Senate Committee Chairman on Solid Minerals, His Royal Majesty King Dakolo Agada, the fourth. My father, permit me to stop at this point. Let me not murder the name that could lead to my being incarcerated in Akwa Ibom. And of course, your beautiful wife, you're welcome. Dr. Oji Ogbonnaya, the Executive Secretary for NAITI, members from the Solid Minerals Ministry. Permit me to stand on already established protocols. Let me first start by saying, indeed, Nigeria is ripe to have selected seats for women in the National Assembly. And this is anchored on the fact that today's organization, you can see, is driven by women. I'm indeed very proud of you, and to assure you that I'm one of your greatest advocates for that particular legislature. Framing the conversation, the global transition to clean energy has intensified the race for critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, graphite, and rare earth elements. These minerals are essential inputs in electric vehicles, solar panels, wind turbines, and battery storage. By the year 2040, demand for these minerals is projected to quadruple. Countries like Australia and Chile have become major beneficiaries due to targeted policies supporting responsible extraction and downstream integration. In Africa, Namibia and the Democratic Republic of Congo are central players, albeit with different governance models. Namibia promoting state equity in lithium projects, and DR Congo grappling with artisanal mining, insecurity, and child labor in cobalt supply chains. This brings us to the question, is Nigeria ready? A balanced view. Let's look at a progress model. Nigeria has confirmed reserves of lithium in Nasarawa, Kogi, Kebbi. We have niobium in Plateau and tin in Bauchi and Jos. Through the Presidential Artisanal Gold Mining Initiative, PAGMI, and the formalization push in ASM, Nigeria is building a foundation to integrate informal miners into the formal economy. Nigeria is also leveraging transparency through NAITI's disclosures and the SMDF's innovations in early stage financing. But there are critical gaps, which include the following. One, absence of a national critical minerals policy. Unlike Canada, which pushed a critical mineral strategy aligning mining with geopolitics and trade, Nigeria lacks a coordinated roadmap. Two, limited value addition. Raw mineral exports still persist, unlike Indonesia, where Unlike Indonesia, which banned raw nickel exports to boost domestic processing and EV manufacturing, Nigeria lacks local refining capacity, though the present administration has made bold statements with regards to this. 3, insufficient geological data. Despite airborne geophysical surveys, most mineral-rich zones remain unexplored, deterring serious investments. 4, weak environmental and social governance frameworks. Nigeria risks repeating oil sector mistakes. Resource extraction without community development or remediation. Recommendations for policy and legislative action. Number 1, pass critical legislation with regards to solid minerals development. This should define strategic minerals, mandate ESG compliance, enforce local content, and enable initiatives for value addition. Secondly, an example, Namibia's Sovereign Wealth Fund is funded partly by mineral resources, ensuring integrational equity. Number 2, strengthen geological surveys and data transparency. And I'm quite happy to hear in the remarks of the ES that NAITI is very heavy on this, which I can attest to, considering the fact that I have used their reports in my legislative duties very strongly. Expand NGSA's capacity and partner with global institutions to de-risk exploration. Consider Ghana's model of public-private mineral cadastral partnerships. Number 3, promote local processing and industrial linkages. Incentivize lithium to battery value chains. Establish critical mineral industrial parks near source regions. Number 4, ensure community and environmental safeguards. Institutionalize free, priority, and informed consent. Integrate host communities in benefit sharing, skills development, and environmental monitoring. This is extremely important. Number 5, champion international partnerships. Nigeria should align with the US-led Mineral Security Partnerships or EU's Critical Raw Materials Act to access financing and markets on equitable terms. The role of the House Committee on Solid Minerals. 1, to provide legislative leadership to position Nigeria in the global clean energy supply chain, which we have gone a long way in doing. 2, monitor implementation of mining reforms and enforce compliance with ESG standards. And next, facilitate public hearings, public policy dialogues, national dialogues with industry players, civil society, communities to ensure inclusive policy making. And for all those that have been following the activities of the House of Representatives, you would agree with me that we have gone quite far in putting the legislative framework together. We actually have a bill to repeal and reenact the Mining Act of 2007 that has gone past second reading. In closing, Nigeria, I beg your pardon, cannot afford to be a bystander in the global clean energy revolution. We must, and I reiterate, we must be deliberate, not just in extracting critical minerals, but in governing them with foresight, justice, and national purpose. Thank you very much.
Please, another round of applause for him. You can hear all his bullet points on what the House of Rep is already looking at and the challenges ahead. And moving on, it's time for us to hear from the upper chamber, where we have the distinguished senator representing Akwa Ibom South District. He's an erudite politician lawyer, and scholar. And before becoming a senator, he had served as the chairman of a local government council, Barenim, and also, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, distinguished chairman of the Solid Minerals Committee. You're welcome.
Don't go there because the list is extensive, so don't go there. My twin brother, Ryan Gaza, chairman of the House of Reps Committee on Solid Minerals. The executive secretary of NETI, a very good friend. Your Royal Majesty, industry players, members of the academia. I am very privileged and pleased to be here today to convey a message from the Senate in respect of our collaboration with NITI and other players to broaden the flanks of transition, of the investment, and indeed the major flanks of this industry. Let me commend NITI and other players for this dialogue, for this intervention. It's very key that we continue to assess the flanks of intervention, the parameters of collaboration. The Senate is fully open to this collaboration. We went around at our committee level last month to look at some mining sites in the country, and we saw the gaps that have been left through untidy measures in the investment. We saw some mining sites that looked like mass graves, where operators had left in a hurry and turned those sites into what looked like mass graves. And that challenged our consciousness that we need to deepen our flanks in collaboration. We need to drive a type of reforms that we need so that we can keep our space much more secure and safer, as it were. So this dialogue is very timely, and it addresses a number of concerns. It also addresses the pressure that's being put on the economy as the government takes giant strides to diversify. Measures in diversification naturally attract pressure on the economy. And then there are also the challenges that flow from transition and divestment. As a legislature, we are committed to such collaboration that we need to address, such measures that we need to work together to fill gaps, to drive such reforms that we need so that we can sharpen the edges for clean energy. So I'm very happy to be here and that we are coming to Uyo, the safest ambience in this country. And I'm very proud to be here. And I have to put aside other engagements to be here so that together we can look at how gaps can be filled. We can look at how new tendencies can be addressed. And that explains why my humble self and my twin brother, the chairman, House of Reps Committee on Solid Minerals, you know, we are twin brothers. We are here in person. We are going to contribute. And at the end of the day, we are coming up with such laws that will help to different policy and legislation. But the time has come for us to deepen the flanks of policy and legislation so that we can have the type of clean energy environment that competes with the best elsewhere. So on behalf of the Senate Committee on Solid Minerals, I convey our very warm wishes and thoughts to the organizers of this important dialogue. And I want to assure you that at the National Assembly, we are going to collaborate with you to ensure that the necessary flanks of reform are driven so that we can have a space that is much more secure and safe. Thank you.
Please let's give another round of applause for the Honorable Senator. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. We are grateful to have you with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to welcome to the stage to give his opening statement a man and an administrator with diverse experience in finance, policy, governance, project management in the oil and gas industry. Please welcome to the stage with me Dr. Leo Akpan, the NAITI NSWG member and the South-South representative. A round of applause for Dr. Leo, please.
Thank you. Distinguished Senator Ekong Sampson, our brother, Chairman, Senate Committee, Solid Minerals, Chairman, House of Reps Committee on Solid Minerals, Honorable Gaza, the Executive Secretary, NAITI, His Royal Majesty King Dakolo and his wife, and especially let me recognize Victoria Ibezim, the ED, Space for Change, the anchor person for today. Stakeholders, this is a goodwill message from me, Dr. Steve Akpan, South-South Representative, NAITI National Stakeholders Working Group. Distinguished participants, stakeholders, development partners, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you warm greetings and goodwill from the people of South-South, on whose behalf I proudly serve, and from the entire NAITI National Stakeholders Working Group, the governing board of NAITI. Permit me to begin by extending our sincere appreciation to the organizers of this very important dialogue. NAITI, Spaces for Change, NOSDRA, the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, and the Ford Foundation. Your decision to bring this national conversation to you, the heart of Nigeria's oil-producing region, is a powerful and commendable gesture of inclusion and solidarity with host communities who have borne the weight of Nigeria's resource wealth. The theme before us at this dialogue, transitions, divestments, and critical minerals, charting a just future for Nigeria's extractive sector, is not only timely, it is also strategic. For resource-rich communities, particularly in the South-South, the global shift to renewable energy, the ongoing divestments by all majors, and Nigeria's growing role in the critical minerals value chain must not translate into new forms of marginalization, displacement, or environmental degradation. As we reflect on the past, we must also act to secure a better future, one where communities are not spectators, but partners, not victims of pollution, but beneficiaries of prosperity. At its most recent meeting, the NAITI board considered and unanimously approved a sound and forward-looking proposal submitted by the Executive Secretary, who is personally here, Dr. Oji Ogbonnaya Oji, to expand the scope of NAITI's industry reporting data disclosures, and audit framework to include climate change, energy transition, and environmental accountability. This decision was not taken lightly. It was guided by several compelling realities. First, the global discourse on extractive governance is rapidly evolving. Transparency is no longer just about revenue. It is now also about emissions, environmental performance, and climate risk. Second, Nigeria as a signatory to the Paris Agreement, an implementer of a nationally determined contribution, an energy transition plan must track and disclose its progress, not only through policy, but through credible data, verified and independently audited. Third, the communities we represent deserve to know not only how much is earned from their lands, but also what is emitted, what is degraded, and what remediation plan is put in place. This is not only a governance imperative, it is a moral imperative. It is therefore within this context that the NATI board gave its full support to this bold expansion of NATI's mandate, in line with the emerging provisions of the 2023 80 standard and global best practices. Let me also state unequivocally that the board is fully committed to providing strategic oversight to ensure that this new dimension of NATI's work is implemented with integrity, urgency, and measurable impact. These include our support for the rollout of the NATI data center, which now provides the digital backbone for collecting, analyzing, and publicly disclosing this new generation of extractive sector data. Over the next 2 days, it is my hope that this dialogue will produce clear principles and protocols for divestment oversight, especially for decommissioning and community compensation. Explore how Nigeria can harness its critical minerals potential responsibly with local processing and beneficiation that benefit host communities. Strengthen the governance and transparency of host community development trusts. And lastly, and most importantly, place community participation, environmental justice, and social inclusion at the center of policy outcomes. This dialogue should not, therefore, just be a conversation. It should establish clear commitments. It is an opportunity to move beyond lamentation, to institutionalize a new chapter of fairness, inclusion, and sustainability in Nigeria's extractive future. Let me conclude by assuring all stakeholders here today that the NATI board will continue to uphold its responsibilities with courage, independence, and fairness. Our resolve is to ensure that the extractive sector truly works for all Nigerians, especially the communities that continue to pay the highest price. I thank the organizers once again and wish all participants fruitful and impactful deliberations. And of course, on a lighter note, as a son of the soil, let me remind all of you, the participants, that this is Uyo, the origin of Edikan Ikon. Afang soup, Ekbang Kukwo. atama soup. Whatever you find anywhere, they are imitations. And of course, the best crayfish you find that here. And all kinds of seafood to eat and to take away as souvenir. So I urge you to take some time and savor the ambience of our state and the hospitality of our people. Thank you. God bless our host communities. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Steve Atman. Please, another round of applause for him. Doctor, I will come to you for the closing of your remarks. I'm interested in those things that you mentioned. The Ekban Kuku and the, Oron crayfish. Another round of applause for him, please. All right, at this point, let us invite Lola Delore, representing the Executive Director, Oil Producing Trade Section, OPTS. A round of applause for Lola as she takes her opening statement. We can do better, please. Let's celebrate her. You're welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, distinguished guests, stakeholders, and partners that are here to shape the future of Nigerian extractive sector. Please permit me to stand on existing protocols. Like here has been said, my name is Lola Delure. I'm the Communication and Government Relations Manager for the Oil Producer Trade Section, OPTS. I have the honor today to represent my boss, the Executive Director of OPTS, Mr. Gweke Ajaifia, who is unavoidably absent because of some other conflicting engagements that he has. On behalf of OPTS, we extend our deepest appreciation to the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI, particularly Mr. Oji Ogbuna, who has been, a very amiable and credible partner of OPTS. I also extend our appreciation to Spaces for Change, the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, NOSTRA, and all collaborators for this, organizing this landmark 4th edition of the National Extractive Dialogue. We applaud the strategic theme, transitions, divestments, and critical mineral, charting a just future for Nigerian extractive sector, which captures both the urgency and the transformative potential of this pivotal moment. As enduring partners in promoting transparency and sustainability, OPTS remains firmly committed to fostering responsible practices across the sector. As an active member of NEITI's board, OPTS holds in high regard the robust oversight and audit frameworks that uphold accountability in our operations. We view this partnership as a platform for continuous improvement and open dialogue on legacy challenges, the energy transition, and inclusive development. As Nigeria embarks on a new era of resource governance, navigating divestments, strengthening community safeguards, and recognizing the vital role of critical minerals, we look forward to a collective journey defined by openness, equity, and shared responsibility. Thank you.
Please, another round of applause for her. Are we hungry? Clapping is free, oh. You don't pay for it. Thank you so much. All right, to Capitol. It's time for us to hear from our royal father. His Royal Majesty, King Bubre Dakolo, Agadafor Ibinanowe of Betiama Kingdom. The interesting thing is that this our Royal Majesty, he's an author. You must have read his book, The Riddle of the Oil Thief or The African Voice. If you haven't read it, please go and read it. You'll enjoy it. Good morning, Your Royal Majesty.
Thank you so much, Madam MC. I'm supposed to, it's more than a goodwill message, actually. But I've been encouraged by Her Majesty the Queen to do so on her behalf as well. And she said I should start by specially greeting the distinguished senator, Senator Ekong Sampson, and Honorable Gaza Jonathan. I should also acknowledge the presence of Dr. Oji, the Executive Secretary of NATI, who is doing an excellent job. And then Victoria Ibezim Ohaeri of Spaces for Change, and all the partners responsible for this excellent opportunity to again discuss how to better our extractive industry. I'm also acknowledging all stakeholders, particularly those from the communities of oil-producing communities who are in the house. Onwa, navigating a changing extractive landscape. What's at stake? It is obvious that things are changing. People are getting more aware of how much the environment is poisoned or being poisoned. People are aware of climate change and what is driving it. And people are interested in ensuring that the climate change and its effect does not continue to injure us. We are aware that there's technology today, and technology could be used for several things, including in the extractive industry. We are also aware that, particularly for oil and gas, after about 70 years of it, we are in dire straits. There's an effort towards transiting, so to speak, leaving the onshore environment to offshore. But in the 70 years, we've been having what they call oil spillages. In recent times, it has been like 300 spillages per annum. And if you multiply that by the number of years I'm talking about, you can have an idea of how much pollution we have in there. Now, so if the IOCs, if the major players are leaving our homes, they are leaving our villages, they are leaving our kingdoms, which hitherto has been their oil fields. So my kingdom, my palace is someone's business premises. That's what it has been. So if they are leaving, what have they done? Have they cleaned the environment? Have they removed the poisons they left there? Have they even cocked the wells? Have they decommissioned the wells? What plans do they have to make sure that the women there are faring better? If you want to be objective, before the oil and gas industry, those in the southern part of Nigeria, close to the ocean, were all business moguls that were doing well. But the oil industry has impoverished us to the level where we are, apart from being poisoned and sick and ailing, we are now poor, broke, and almost out. So when you leave this environment without anything consciously being done, how do we fare? We are now broke compared to what we used to be 60, 70 years ago. And you've made so much money, multiples of trillions, out of this process. And you are leaving us with pollution and walking away. How fair can that be? As you know, the federal government is a key stakeholder in all of this. The state is a key stakeholder as well. The LGAs and the communities, yes, we are all stakeholders, but at different levels. As you know, the Nigerian state has the Nigerian police and a few police-like establishments that are supposed to ensure that there is law and order in the land. But I can tell you here that we have less than 500,000 policemen in this country. And how well do they police the society? Of course, you know that more than half of this number is doing VIP protection. So we have less than that number out there to ensure that there is law and order in the land. So are they doing it well? Can they do it well? So in this changing atmosphere, in this changing environment, what preparations are being made by the federal government of Nigeria, for instance, to ensure that there is law and order? One can get justice if wronged. As you know, anything underground also belongs to the federal government, at least from 1969 that has been established. And so oil particularly has been an exclusive preserve of the federal government of Nigeria. No wonder I don't have all the money I should have. But the state government is said to have the surface rights, and perhaps in the near future they will begin to exercise that right. Before you come and drill here, you must do like this, and all of that. But what I'm saying is there has been conflicts for solid minerals too, conflicts everywhere. People are dying of lead poison. People are being killed because there is gold in their land, just as people are being asphyxiated for having oil in their land. These are the realities. So if there isn't any conscious effort towards ensuring there is security of the citizen, then how can this transition or this change help the citizen? I also want to underscore that the extractive industry has been shrouded in what is at best called opacity. I think NATI is trying as much as possible to put some light on it, let people know what is going on. But it has been more of an abracadabra. The more you look, the less you see. The numbers are not disclosed. In fact, I have a few persons from around me, I don't want to be too specific, who are in the terminals where oil and gas is exported. And they said, they just say, make I sign, that if I question to see the figures I am made to sign, they will post me away the next day. So they just sign. And that means that oil has been stolen through the official route without Nigerians knowing what is stolen and why they are not getting the best out of the industry. So, long and short is that as we navigate this change, as we transit, as we move from the way we used to do things to the new way, because yes, today even the fossil fuel as crude oil is not so much in demand as it used to be. People are moving to renewable energy. People are pressuring for renewable energy. And so investments will have to be in that direction. So in all of this, where do you keep me? Where do you keep the average Nigerian? I am hoping that this discussion or this event, this two-day event, will beam some such light on it. Perhaps we will know whether or not the oil and gas industry in particular will effectively clean up the environment it has polluted onshore as it moves offshore. We need to know that those of us who have so much poison in our bodies because of this business that has gone on without following the rules, whether we could have some remediation. We have to know that what is happened in the oil and gas producing areas will not happen to those in Nasarawa and Zamfara and elsewhere. We need to know. And like I said before, if you do not have those who are supposed to ensure that there is justice, there is law and order in place, you don't have the numbers, you don't have those who have the tact, you don't have those who have the zeal, then we may just be left behind. So I want to once more thank Spaces for Change, thank NATI, thank Ford Foundation and all of those who have come around here to make this happen. But finally, I want to draw our attention to the acronym NOSDRA. NOSDRA is also a federal government agency, and they are well represented here. National Oil Spills or Spillage Detection and Response Agency. Because we're talking about the preparedness of the Nigerian state as things change. Now, NOSDRA, if you look at this, the name or acronym, NOSDRA, it says National Oil Spillage Detection. So Nigeria is ready for you when the crime has been committed. When there is already an oil spillage, that's when NOSDRA will have to work. There is no effort by the Nigerian state to prevent oil spillage. So oil spillage will happen, and you can imagine, if you know what violation is, if you're already violated, what in this world could be done for that violation to cease to be a violation? So this is a pointer to the fact that most times the Nigerian state does not think proactively, how do we prevent? They only want to come and do something after the deed has been done. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Royal Majesty.